Brazil breeds great race drivers. 9 Brazilians await the green flag. It's their most important race. 41-year-old Roberto Moreno, a Rio native, is rejuvenated, scoring a second place in Miami and leading 10 laps in Long Beach. Team Penske is the home to a pair of talented Brazilians poised to win. Gil de Ferran grabbed the pole for both Miami and Long Beach and sits 5th in the point standings. 2 weeks ago, Helio Castroneves drove to an emotional runner-up finish at the beach, equaling his career best. Will an excited Brazilian win today? We're about to find out. We are south of the equator in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, for the kart Rio 200. This is a big holiday weekend in Brazil, and the focus of the weekend is this race and the Brazilians and how they will resolve the race before this day is over. They have not had the best of luck thus far. Gil de Ferran in practice on Friday got into trouble, got the car loose. Fortunately, he was able to miss the wall. Mauricio Guzman was not as fortunate, though it was a very light tap with the attenuated barriers. Walter Salles got into the wall, and they had to work hard to get this car ready. And then Roberto Moreno also caught the wall with the right front, but he was able to qualify as well. Here's Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, while some of the Brazilians have been having their problems on their home track here in Rio de Janeiro, let's consider the case of a newcomer to the series, the rookie Alexander Tagliani for the Players Forsyth team, fresh off a 4th-place effort on the streets of Long Beach in the most recent event. He starts today from the pole position. By 11/100ths of a second, he knocked off Juan Montoya to get that valuable championship point. And wouldn't it be something as he prepares to roll away and pace this field if later today this young man from Canada rolled into victory lane?
Gary, number 17 has turned out to be a lucky number for another Canadian, and that would be Paul Tracy. In the first 2 races of the season, that is where he has qualified, but he turned it into a 3rd-place finish in Homestead, and of course with a convincing victory on the streets of Long Beach. Now, he said what they learned at Long Beach, they could apply to the car setup-wise here, amazingly, on the oval of Rio. So he doesn't start 17th, he starts 3rd today and is very comfortable with the car. Now, about that little dance that we saw him do in Long Beach, he said he was paying off a bet from his friend Jason Giambi, who plays for the Oakland A's. But I have a feeling it's not the last time this season we'll see Paul Tracy dancing in victory lane.
Hi, I'm Paul Page, and welcome to a very hot day here in Brazil. I love this D-shaped oval, especially because of the long straightaway that slams down into the first turn. 3 gears down, hard on the brakes, and then into that corner. It's one of the most exciting turns on the circuit. But Parker Johnstone, you look forward to this race for even other reasons.
Well, I do, Paul. Today could be a race of firsts. Once again, Toyota's on the front row. This time with Juan Montoya. Last race at Long Beach, it was Jimmy Vasser who went on to give Toyota its first podium finish. Can Toyota get its breakthrough series victory today? Then there's Lola. They haven't won since '96 in Vancouver. Newman, Haas, also Ganassi, they're running very strong. Can Lola win? And then there are the rookies. Kenny Brack, he's been very, very tough all year, but has yet to find the checkered flag. Mimo Gidley, very fast. And our pole sitter, Alex Tagliani. Can any one of these rookies find their breakthrough victory today at Rio?
Here's the way they qualified for the Rio Kart 200. On the pole and only his 3rd start, Alex Tagliani. Juan Montoya makes it 5 starts on the front row in a row for Toyota. In row 2, it's Paul Tracy and Kenny Brack. The 3rd row, Christian Fittipaldi and Jimmy Vasser. In row 4, Helio Castroneves and Dario Franchitti. The 5th row is Tony Kanaan and Max Pappas. Row 6, Mimo Gidley subbing for Patrick Carpentier and Roberto Moreno. In the 7th row, Gil de Ferran and Oriol Servia. Row 8 is Michael Andretti and Adrian Fernandez. The 9th row, Cristiano D'Amata and Norberto Fontana. In the 10th row, Takuya Kurosawa and Brian Herta. In row 11, Mauricio Guzman and Michel Jourdain Jr. The 12th row, Mark Blundell and Walter Salles and Luis Garcia Jr. starts alone in the 13th row. This race, 108 laps, reliability a key.
Reliability is the key. Remember, we lost about a third of the cars at Homestead, over half the field at Long Beach. It's 86 degrees outside, but it feels much hotter because humidity is about 1,000%. It's going to be tough on engines, on gearboxes, and on brakes.
As the field continues warming up, we've got some onboards for you with Mark Blundell will be on his car. And then also Jimmy Vasser. Remember how close he was to a victory at Long Beach in that great battle at the end of the race. Gary, Gerald?
Been a hectic morning for Chip Ganassi's team with Juan Montoya. He didn't like the way the engine was pulling in the half-hour warm-up session this morning, and they also said that the motor was breathing oil very heavily. So they came in, and with the new Lola chassis, it is tough and time-consuming. It took over 2 hours to change the engine, then to go to the setup pad and get the car hopefully balanced. It's an untested machine for Montoya that starts out right front row, and Chip Ganassi says he is very concerned as they get ready to go green. Jan?
Gary, there was also a problem this morning for Kenny Breck. He got into the wall in turn number 4. They were not able to fix the car. They have gone to the backup, but thankfully Kenny has run that car this weekend and says he's comfortable in that one as well.
Give some consideration to this front row. Tagliani, a rookie. Montoya on the left side of your screen there. What is Paul Tracy thinking? How will he take this green flag as they come off the final corner? In the first 4 positions, Tagliani and Kenny Breck, 2 rookies to start here at this track.
And it's difficult for the outside line to get a good start coming off this last corner. It's dirty on the outside. The inside row is going to try to keep him high and then get a jump. Watch Tagliani on the start.
Pace picks up as they come off the corner, try to come to alignment. Tagliani accelerates a bit ahead of the rest of the field. And we'll see now, they're going to wave this one off. Tagliani just too far forward.
And it's the problem we've seen here in the past. It's very difficult on the high side.
Oriol Servia gets in trouble coming off of 4, takes the back wing off the car.
And we've seen that as well in the past here, where people have done the stop and go, trying to short break each other, and other people have ended up in accidents in the fence at the start. As I was saying, that outside lane, it's very difficult to maintain momentum and keep pace with the inside lane, and that's what Tagliani is depending will happen to Juan Montoya.
So with Oriol Servia's problem, which will of course take him immediately out of the race, we may see a couple laps of yellow. There's what happened, Parker. Came off of 4 and looks like he just goosed it too hard.
Very, very easy to do with the stagger, the spool, getting hard on the throttle. It's very easy to light up the rear tires, and these cars will make an immediate left-hand turn when you do that.
When I spoke to him here on Friday, he said that he had some apprehensions with this course. It was a very big circuit. He'd not driven it here in these cars. In fact, he hadn't driven it, so he was worried about it. Jan Beekes?
Yes, Paul, one of the concerns that the crews have today is cooling of the cars. In fact, most of the teams have removed all of the shutters, as they're called, from the radiator exits. Basically, they want as much air to pass through the side pods as possible. And I noticed just before the start on Team Cool Green machines for both Paul Tracy and Dario Franchitti, they went farther. They actually cut a hole in the side of the side pod to let additional air out to be sure it cools on a very, very hot day.
Hot and perhaps even more importantly, very humid day. So while they try and get the field realigned to take a start and get Oriol Servia off the course, they will continue under the yellow. But remember that these caution laps do count against the 108 lap total around this 1.8 mile oval. So the statue of Christ the Redeemer, Corcovado, overlooks the city of Rio. At Rio, they are still under caution as they try to get Oriol Servia's car cleared off the racetrack. We'll look again, Parker, at what happened there. Question is, did he just put too much acceleration in it, or did he get assisted?
Well, we're looking to see if he got bumped from behind here. And no, Paul, he is clear from behind. He just got on the throttle too hard coming off the last corner and drove it straight into the tires.
In fact, Michael Andretti and those behind him, it was a pretty close maneuver as he came across the front of the field. You see it again here. Jan Beekes
spoke with the team because it looked originally like they might go to the spare car for Oriol Servia, but then Cart told them, it's true we have not had a green, but you cannot go to a spare car unless it was a red flag condition. Gary?
And at the other end of the pits, Chip Ganassi already lobbying with CART officials on that attempted start, saying he felt like Tagliani pinched his driver Montoya off. Consequently, officials say they'll be watching very closely as we anticipate the restart.
So the view up from the front, they are still working to try and make sure the course is 100% ready to go. So we're going to leave you for just a few moments, and when we come back, we should finally see a green flag. We've had 3 under caution. Back in Rio, 4 laps under the caution. They begin to align the rows of 2 once again. We expect to start at the conclusion of this lap. The second row there on the inside is Paul Tracy. A lot of people are wondering, how's he going to drive this start? He still holds the Budweiser Hard Charger Award. He's now done it 2 races in a row. Will he do it again this weekend? Well, from 3rd to 1st, that's not much of a charge, but we'll see what happens. There's the second row. Alex Tagliani, the rookie pole sitter, in his 3rd start.
Remember, he made a couple of critical errors at Homestead in the season opener.
Much better off of 4 to this point. Tagliani slows it a bit more. The field nicely assembled now. And now we go green. Tagliani, Montoya dropped in behind him, but he swings out way wide. Tries to get around him, doesn't do it. Breck battles with Paul Tracy. They're 2 wide in the first turn.
It was great. They were 4 wide coming down the pit straight into that first corner with Vasser, Christian Fittipaldi, Kenny Breck, and Paul Tracy. And now the horsepower battle begins between Toyota, Ford, Honda, and Mercedes.
There is Kenny Breck. He makes his move on Montoya. Play the view back more. That's Vasser. Vasser back in the field. Paul Tracy was able to move into the position right behind Montoya. Now here comes the Farron.
Going down the inside of Tony Kanaan there.
Christian Fittipaldi on the move as well. Tagliani, Montoya, Tracy. Then that battle. As Vasser and Breck. Onboard Vasser. Long front stretch. Then down through the gears.
Front straightaway here, 2/3 of a mile long. 210 miles an hour, hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear. 120 miles an hour minimum cornering speed. Back up through the gears onto the back straightaway.
Christian Fittipaldi working against Mimo Gidley. And Christian finally puts a nose ahead of him. They're still going to go side by side into 4, and Christian is able to outbrake him into the corner. Now to the long stretch again. 7 laps complete.
Spent some time talking to Mimo yesterday. He realizes this is a very unusual race. It's very hot, long. Lots of things can happen. He's very mature, very patient, very bright young man.
Kanaan darts out for a second there, but he can't make the move on Helio Castroneves.
I think you're going to see a number of drivers pace themselves early. Let Montoya, Tagliani go out early, try to set the pace. Hopefully they'll wear down, maybe have a mechanical problem. As Jan mentioned, heat a big factor here. Not so bad for the cars at front, but as you start going back, the air gets superheated. So from 6th, 7th, 8th place back, the air is much, much hotter. Affects the brakes, gearboxes, engines.
Gidley and Fittipaldi continue their fight for 8th.
Looks like Mimo's using the rear tires a little harder than maybe he should be at this stage of the race. You can see the back of the car moving around on the corner exit coming off of 2.
Well, as you said, reliability is the key in all things here. Tires would certainly be one of them, and you really don't want to ride them too hard too early.
One of the areas of concern relating to tire wear is the right rear. They take such a pounding going into these extreme corners at each end of the track. 2 and 3 fast and sweeping, 1 and 4 so very tight. And that is a concern of many crew chiefs we talked to this morning after the warm-up session.
Kenny Breck has now moved up to contest Paul Tracy in 3rd. Tagliani still the leader. Montoya still 2nd.
Gary mentioned that right rear tire is a concern. Normally you want to run it about 185 degrees. Most of the teams have been seeing well over 200 degrees on that right rear tire. They've been working with the chassis to try to put less load into that tire, dial in a little bit more understeer in the front of the car, take a little less weight off that right rear.
Kanan, Fittipaldi, Gidley, Max Pappas now closing in behind Gidley. And Michael just behind Max. Max, the winner of the first race of the season. Tracy won the second. Nazareth postponed to the 27th of May because of snow. So this is the, what, 3-ish?
Yeah, race 3.
Could have been round 4. Michel Jourdain Jr.
Going around Moreno there.
Moreno and the Patrick Racing team have been working hard to try to find the edge this weekend. Been very difficult for them. Roberto Moreno drops with that pass back to 18th. Gary?
Paul, one of the busiest, one of the most popular drivers. Roberto's been down here for a full 2 weeks leading up to this event. Frustrated earlier today because they had throttle linkage problems during the morning warm-up session. They addressed it. They believe they have it corrected, but there was still some concern from the Patrick Racing team for Roberto in car number 20 relating to that throttle linkage going into this race.
Well, both he and his teammate Adrian Fernandez are still sitting well back. Jourdain got around Moreno and now is taking a look at Fernandez. Battle involving those drivers down at 16th, 17th, and 18th. Tagliani's done a nice job out at the front. There he is. There's Montoya turning in. About a second behind Tagliani now. Paul Tracy remains third. Kenny Brack is fourth. Still working on Tracy.
Keep in mind, Kenny Brack had that accident this morning in morning warm-up. He had been using the backup car since Friday, so he climbed back into this car, which was actually his primary car. It's something you really don't want to do. You get a lot of confidence driving the same car lap after lap. Even though they're set up exactly the same, each car has a nuance. They're hand-built. They can't possibly be exactly the same. Kenny Brack, a very confident, very talented young man. For some drivers, it's a big deal, just like which side of the car they get on, which socks they wear. Other drivers, it makes no difference at all. And apparently, it hasn't faced Kenny one bit.
Brack still works on Tracy. Gary Gerald.
Kenny Brack, after that incident this morning, Paul, he assessed the damage and he thought it could be repaired. Dan Halliday and the crew, however, said, we don't always trust our driver's judgment in that respect. They know that the driver wants to stay in the car he's most comfortable in, that he's had the most time on the track in. They got it back in the garage area. They started looking things over and decided that they had to make the change.
Gary, you cannot believe the pass that Kenny Brack just tried and almost got done. He came around Paul Tracy on the inside, then drifted across Tracy's nose. Tracy never lifted at all and took the position back immediately. The fight continues, and now Jimmy Vasser joins in.
Tremendous effort there, and he got in a little too fast. The car washed up with understeer. Paul Tracy never blinked. The surprising thing is Paul carried more exit speed out of the corner, and yet Kenny drafted right up and right past him. Now keep in mind, they're only using one top gear, unlike most ovals where you would run 2 or maybe even 3 top gears. But what we don't know is whether Kenny went to the overtake button and Paul's got it leaned out a little bit more, running a little bit more conservatively than Kenny Brack. Now watch, Kenny goes down the inside, carries a lot of speed, and I can guarantee you that Paul took him in there as deep as he could. This is the critical moment. Paul loses all the downforce on the front of the car. He washes up high. You can see how far they are up out of the groove. Kenny tucks in back behind him, and they drag race down the pit straight.
Oh, that's some great racing.
So obviously, Kenny's got it wicked up. He had the overtake button on, which gives it full power, full fuel, full advance on the ignition timing. I think Paul's running a little bit more conservatively now, but Jimmy Vasser looking to attack Paul.
And Vasser is right there. So is Elio Castroneves, just behind Jimmy Vasser. Now, if we can ride with this for a moment, we should be able to follow when we do get on board on the front stretch, how they go down through the gears into the first turn. Hard on the brake.
2.8 Gs. It's not a very physical track at all, but the cockpit temperatures right now are between 125 and 135 degrees. So very, very hot inside the car. Takes a real toll in water loss and dehydration during the course of this race.
In fact, there's almost as much braking when they come down this long front straight into the first turn in terms of speed scrubbed off as there is at Long Beach going into a tighter turn. Here they have to be able to accelerate hard out almost immediately.
And keep in mind, from last year to this year, because of regulation changes, they're down about 500 pounds of downforce, so the braking area is actually longer. They're really standing on the brakes.
Norberto Fontana is answering a drive-through penalty because of a pass that he made on the start. Also, Helio Castroneves has just suddenly started dropping down through the field. He's dropped down to 15th. Here comes Max Pappas. He works on Gidley. Now, remember, when you see Gidley, this is his first oval start.
Keep in mind, though, the last two ovals he ran in Atlantic, he won. And this really isn't an oval. We all call it a roval. It's just much more like a road course because of the braking and downshifting involved right up the alley for Mimo Gidley.
Gidley has to give way to Pappas. Michael comes up to take a look at him as well. At the front, it remains Alex Tagliani. In second place, Montoya, followed by Kenny Breck and Paul Tracy. Another beautiful view of the magnificent city of Rio here in Brazil. Next weekend on ESPN, it's coverage of NASCAR Winston Cup, the Pontiac Excitement 400 from Richmond, Virginia, Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern Time. Well, only one change since we left you. It involved Helio Castroneves. Gary?
Yes, indeed, Paul. He is already out of the car. They had gearbox problems this morning. He talks with Tim Cindric, the president, newcomer to Penske Racing this year. They had not pinpointed the gearbox problems as they worked on it. They had brought a spare down from the States, installed it, but he lost third gear. He could go up through the gears sequentially, couldn't come down through the gears, we are told. But now we've got an opportunity. Let's get a word here with Helio as he is out of the car. The gearbox problem this morning, were you confident that it was going to work all right with the spare that had been put in for this race?
Yeah, I was trying to take care of the gearbox all the time, and especially in the race, tried to be very smooth, but I think it didn't work. So unfortunately, the car was great. Everything was doing the way that I planned. It's points that we lose, that it's very bad, but let's go for the next one.
How disappointing to come down here in front of all these fans and have this happen so early.
This is the third time come over here, not even made a pit stop. But hey, one day will be my day. Let's just look up and pray.
2 weeks ago, it was a great day at Long Beach with a second-place finish. Today, nothing but disappointment.
Yeah, and with that second-place finish, Gary, he took a giant jump in the point standings, and now, unfortunately, he'll drop back down. We watch Christian Fittipaldi. Tony Kanaan is right behind him. This is the tightest battle on the course right now. And this very partisan crowd here. The Brazilians, of course, love their racing. And even more, they love to see their Brazilian drivers perform well. And during the introductions, they just roared for each of the Brazilians as they were introduced.
As we watch this battle, Christian's teammate Michael Andretti has gone from 15th to 10th place. Cristiano D'Amata has moved from 17th to 13th. And doing a fantastic job is Michel Jourdain Jr., who's moved from 22nd up to 15th.
That's how Christian got ahead of Tony Kanaan. We are in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, with the Kart FedEx Championship Series. The 27th lap now complete of this race, scheduled for 108 laps. A very, very warm day here. They say the temperature is only 86, but it seems a lot hotter than because there is tremendous humidity in the air. We didn't have the best of starts on the start. Oriol Servia has problems, spun the car, got the wall, first out of the race, only one out of the race at this point. And Alex Tagliani, the rookie pole sitter, took the jump.
What changes you want, Max?
And has been leading ever since then, followed by Montoya. And then Kenny Breck got around Paul Tracy into third. That's the way we are now.
You heard Bobby Rahal asking Max what changes he wanted. They're going to be coming in about the next 10 laps. They've got to go at least 36 laps on each of the first 2 stops to make it to the end. Now the fuel load's less than half. They're getting a feeling, this being the longest run they've made this weekend. Remember, they can't test here to get an idea as far as tire pressure, wing changes that the drivers want.
Alex Tagliani just started his 29th lap. Montoya second, Breck third. Jan Vikas, what's the story on Paul Tracy?
Well, we saw that Paul slipped back, and Parker, you even mentioned that he came off the corner really well, but he got passed on the straightaway. I spoke with Barry Green, the team owner, and they said they think they have a little bit too much downforce in the car, and Paul has already called on the radio and said, next pit stop, let's take some front wing out of this thing.
And Paul, I don't think I've ever seen a race where there have been so many variations from team to team on how to attack this Rio course. We've seen no downforce. We've seen medium downforce cars. They've all gotten to about the same lap times. When you've got a second covering over 20 cars, that's fine. But during the race, I think most of the teams have opted to get down the straightaways as quick as possible and just hang on in the corners. Team Green selected to go the other way.
Montoya suddenly turns on to the pit road. You saw a glimpse of him coming off of 4, and now must head all the way down to the pits. Crosses the line in doing so. This is the last pit before the pit exit.
What the fuck is going on? Is someone trying to make the car
So Montoya in trouble. They're going for the engine compartment. He again shows his frustration. Second race in a row that he has struggled. The defending series champion not off to a start nearly as good as last year.
And you can tell when they don't have the tires laid out, they're not worried about fueling. This is a pretty serious problem. Looks like it's gearbox, Paul, if they're rocking it back and forth. You can see the mechanic reach in there, trying to find gears.
And Rob Hill just indicated that's it. The finger across the throat, and coming out is a very disappointed and a very frustrated Colombian.
Montoya, the gestures and the questioning up to his owner, Chip Ganassi. And the crew continues to take a hard look at the gearbox area of that race car. Tagliani, Breck, Tracy, Vasser now. That's the top of the order. Christian Fittipaldi is up to 5th.
You can understand his frustration. He was the only car that can match Tagliani's pace. There have only been 3 cars in the 39-second bracket range, which have been Tagliani, Montoya, and Breck. Everyone else back in the 40s and 41s. Breck was running some 8 seconds behind the lead pair. And once again, he suffered mechanical problems. Very disappointing for Juan Montoya.
Well, Tagliani, with Montoya falling out, runs alone in the lead, nearly 9 seconds ahead of second place Kenny Breck. Gary, Gerald?
We thought it might be gearbox related. Was that the problem, Juan?
Yeah, the link, you know, my shift lever broke and not having a gear, it got stuck in 6.
How disappointed now at this stage, 3 races into the season and only 1 championship point. How much is that concerning you?
Oh, it's a lot now, you know, because we're cruising, you know. I was completely turned down on the fuel. I was just driving around. And, you know, when we get to the middle of the road, we're going to be able to go full power and go for the win. And it broke again. It's incredible.
This engine that they replaced this morning, it was giving you the performance and the power that you wanted?
The performance was there, you know. We had enough power in the start and everything, but just one of those races.
Thank you.
So Montoya out early. Tagliani still leads it. Jimmy Vasser is now trying to keep Christian Fittipaldi, who is just behind him, off of his back. That's Tracy ahead of him, 3rd place. Vasser sits in 4th.
As we ride along with Jimmy, keep in mind one of the keys to Ganassi's success in 4 consecutive championships has been reliability. Usually those who complete the most laps are those who finish atop of the championship. So unusual to see a mechanical problem with one of the Ganassi cars, and now we've seen a number race after race.
Mark Blundell into the pits. Jan?
The first scheduled stop that we see today, the Mercedes power plant. Mark Blundell, who has moved up from his starting spot. A 12.9-second stop for him. They made a few changes to the car. He's on the move, and right behind him, we can see that Kenny Breck, who runs in 2nd place, will be here shortly.
35 laps are complete by the leader, Alex Tagliani.
I spoke with Mark and Mauricio yesterday. They have suffered all weekend long. They haven't been able to get the chassis where they want. They've had huge understeer on the way into the corner, oversteer on the way out, kills your entry and your exit speed. Very frustrating for Pac West.
And here is your leader, Alex Tagliani. They laid out for him as well, and he's on the pit road.
Square on the mark. Okay, that's good. No hurry. Foot on the brake. Foot on the brake.
Gary Gerald.
Hearing Alex Timmerman with the instructions for the rookie driver Tagliani.
Full fill, okay?
Remember, he has very little pit stop experience. Only his third Champ Car race. Everything appears to be routine, and he's gone.
And Gary, for Kenny Breck, he made a 12-second stop, and they added front wing.
That's a view from the helmet of Colin Duff, who's running the vent for Christian Fittipaldi's car. His job, as he holds the vent hose in place, is to check all the corners on the car, make sure everything is going right. You saw him do it.
Great to watch the visual scan. These guys have got to know what's going on all the way around them, besides doing their job 100%.
Camera up there on the top of his helmet. Well, here's a story of frustration throughout the weekend, but now turning into something good. Walter Salas had problems, got into the wall, a hard rebuild on that car. Paul Tracy into the pit.
Here's the fastest pit crew team in the business, winning the Craftsman Challenge last year, led by Tony Kottman.
And without a problem, Paul Tracy is away. Jimmy Vasser now picks up the lead of the race.
And this is what's interesting, Paul. I said they had to go 36 laps. The leader came in on lap 35. We're now working lap 37. You've got to go at least 36 laps to make this a two-stop race.
Jimmy Vasser on the pit road, out of the lead. Michael Andretti should pick up the lead.
And keep in mind, we had those extra yellows at the beginning. This is going to make it very interesting to make it a two-stop race.
All four tires off the car and almost immediately back on. Fuel flows in, still waiting for fuel. It's stopped and Jimmy Vasser is away.
Problem in the pits here. We've got Franchitti just came flying by me, and he nosed into the carcassier or the...
Franchitti lays the plower to it, gets it pointed in the right direction, and heads out, comes out just behind Roberto Moreno. Brian Herta also stopped in the pits. And Adrian Fernandez picked up the lead. Now he comes in for a pit stop. This is the 39th lap for Adrian's stop.
5.
All clear. Go, 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 go.
Look at D'Amato on Kanaan down to the grass, coming down the pit straightaway.
These are two guys who, believe it or not, are great friends away from the track. This is Franchitti.
Lights it up, coming off the concrete. There's D'Amato on his right. Whoa! He just put in a little bit too much correction, bounces it off the inside wall, keeps it running, snaps it back around, and goes back out the pits.
With that, Franchitti is able to maintain a 14th position on the track, but his less than great luck this season continues. At least on the track side. Has announced his engagement to actress Ashley Judd this weekend, and everybody at the drivers' meeting gave him a great round of applause. Tagliani with the pit stops goes right back. He slows down. Tagliani slows down. The pictures here being provided by Brazilian television. That's Tagliani, and he picks up power again. Did he just lose a gear?
Well, he started to head into the... He started to head into the pit lane, but now he's back up to speed. There's Kenny Breck. Remember, he came in with an 8-second lead over Breck. Hard to make out what they're telling him here, Paul.
Keep going. You're okay.
Kenny Breck charging on him, but they tell Tagliani that he's fine.
Now, keep in mind, they've tested all winter long, but nothing duplicates the heat and the stress of a race weekend. We're only in our third race of the season. A lot of these components still very, very untested in this sort of situation. And now look at the gap.
So with that sudden slowing, the 8 seconds whittles down to just over 1 second for Tagliani. But he continues in the lead. Kenny Brack is second. Paul Tracy sits in third. We'll be back. Well, since we have left you in Rio, nothing has changed. Tagliani is still the leader, and by the same interval. So, Gary, Gerald, what happened?
Well, this is one of those things when you're kind of embarrassed, and I salute this team for admitting what happened. He accidentally hit the pit limiter button, and that, of course, shut him down to 50 miles per hour. They immediately corrected it. He's back and running okay. They don't think there's any other complications. Also, a quick note on Adrian Fernandez and his Ducati Quaker State team. The mechanical problems they've had in the earlier races this year, this crew had not yet made a pit stop. The last time they had a pit stop under fire was Fontana last fall. They gained 5 spots. Mike Sales is back with them this weekend, pinch hitting for one of the crew members who couldn't get down to Rio de Janeiro. They think maybe he's a good luck charm. And right now, I don't think anybody's going to argue with him.
Jan Vikas.
In regards to Dario Franchitti, I spoke with Kim Green and asked if there was any damage on the car. He said they had some wing damage from an earlier incident, but they thought that the car just bounced off the nose on the wall on pit road, and he didn't think it had hurt it.
So Tagliani hits the button that is designed to keep the car slow as they go in and out of the pits.
But let me tell you why that's strange, Paul. Most of the systems that I'm familiar with engage once you get below a certain critical speed. Usually it's 70, 80 miles an hour, so you slow the car down first, holding the button down, and once you hit that predetermined speed, then it drops you all the way down to 50. He's going 120 miles an hour through the corner, so obviously the new Ford system engages no matter what the speed the moment you touch the button. Very interesting software design.
Most of the field now finding themselves in a position lapping the slower cars, and as a matter of fact, 19th through 25th have all been lapped. You've got, of course, Montoya out. Norberto Fontana is now out of the race. Casper Neves, you saw his gearbox problems, and you saw Oriol Servia's situation.
Great hot tonight, great hot.
The front of the field, it remains Alec Tagliani. Kenny Brack is in second place, working hard on him.
Just getting around Luis Garcia Jr. there. Lots and lots of changes during that last pit stop, as I thought, Paul. The air has lost a lot of density from the morning warm-up. They've lost a lot of downforce in the cars. Usually they'll lose more to the front than the back. We saw lots of teams putting front wing into the cars, trying to counteract understeer. Christian Fittipaldi drafting up behind Jimmy Vasser. Here's Michael Andretti, who's had a great charge up from 15th place.
Tracy, Vasser, Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi, pole sitter here last year, working hard on Vasser. Remember, Fittipaldi scored his first victory last year at Road America, but he was unable, owing to an accident in testing, to really capitalize on that the way he would have hoped. And there's Michael. Michael Andretti currently runs 6th behind Fittipaldi, so the Newman-Haas Lolas are together on the racetrack. Lola's still looking for its first win since Vancouver in 1996. That win, of course, scored by Michael Andretti.
We now have 9 cars that have dipped into the 39-second bracket. We've got Tagliani, Brack, Tracy, Vasser, Fittipaldi, Andretti, Fernandez. And a little farther back, both Cristiano Dabata and Roberto Moreno have also gone down into the 39-second range.
You know, because he is so handily out in front, Tagliani is not getting the bulk of the coverage. More like these battles between Tracy, Vasser, and Fittipaldi are the focus of our attention. But what a wonderful job this young rookie from the Atlantic Series, is the Toyota Atlantics, is showing this crowd here. Remember, he had that great run at Miami. The only problem was he violated the rule regarding the pace car coming into the pit area, passed the pace car before he was able to, and so got set back in the field. And now here he is at the front of this field, giving this car a great ride.
As we talked about him this morning, Paul never won the championship in Formula Atlantic. Jan and I were discussing, though, how certain driving styles may not work in certain cars. but they work in others. And there's a parallel between what he did in Atlantic and Jacques Villeneuve and how they both came to this series and did so well. Their styles just suit more horsepower, a larger car. That it didn't, they weren't well suited in Formula Atlantic.
At 1.3 laps ago, Tagliani was only 0.2 of a second ahead of Kenny Breck. Then he's able to pull out a little bit. Now he is 1 second ahead of Breck. They're also looking at his teammate's car, Mamo Gidley. There's been the report of some smoke or spray at the back of the car. Though oftentimes when we've seen that here, it's just the car sitting down on the ground, and the puff of smoke is coming from the plywood, the jab rock that's underneath the car.
Right behind you, right behind you. There you go.
Going inside Brian Herta here. Brian going way high.
Oh, he gave him a little room. That was a lot of room. He slows completely.
Whoa, he's coming in.
Herta slows completely.
He's got a big problem. That was more than just letting her by. Something went wrong there.
Herta came way off the line, let the leaders come through, and now slows down. Problem with Mauricio Gugelmin?
Yes, the last 2 times by Paul, the engine sounded not good. It could be some sort of exhaust problem. In fact, they're spraying water now near the exhaust header, so we may have had an exhaust crack or something like that. As Mauricio climbs from the car, it turns and appears as though it's terminal.
The yellow flag comes out. This will be, of course, for Brian Herta, who slowed on the track coming off of 1. Pits remain closed until they gather up the field. So along with Elio Castroneves, along with Elio Castroneves, Mauricio Gugelmin, the second Brazilian, suffers his problems of today. So the crowd has to put their hopes now on the 7 Brazilians that are left. Another look out across the southern Atlantic Ocean from the beautiful town of Rio. Under the yellow flag, our Toyota spotlight focuses on the Brazilian drivers. Gil de Ferran sat on the pole at Miami, again at Long Beach. He currently stands 5th in the points. De Ferran's teammate Elio Castroneves tied a career best with a 2nd place finish at Long Beach. Roberto Moreno passed Paul Tracy late in the race at Miami to capture a 2nd place finish, and then led at Long Beach before losing 2nd gear. And Christian Fittipaldi is experiencing problems in the pits. He hit a crew member in Miami, and then he caught fire at Long Beach, twisting his ankle when he jumped out of the car. Currently, the Brazilians don't fare all that well. This is Christian Fittipaldi, live shot again. Christian came in 5th place. Tony Kanaan is the only other one in the top 10. He was 10th just a few moments ago before these stops under the yellow at the 57th lap began. And there you get an idea of how many cars decided when the pits opened to take advantage of it. The yellow came out for Brian Herta, who slowed suddenly and then pulled to a side at the edge of the racetrack. Alex Tagliani was the leader of the race at the time. And there is Brian Herta's car with Brian out of the cockpit. You see him over at the right side of your screen. He had his foot up on the wall talking to his crew. Derek Walker, his owner, and the rest of the gang there, no doubt wondering why it suddenly slowed down. Jan?
Another guy who's wondering why it suddenly slowed down is Mauricio Gugelmin. Do you know what happened to your car?
Well, I'm wondering too. I just felt loss of power, temperatures, everything check out okay. It just kept losing acceleration. So when I stopped, they noticed some oil on the right-hand side of the engine. So we don't know what it is yet.
Tell us about track conditions and the heat and so on. How is it going for you?
Track conditions fine. A little bit offline here is pretty hard, but I think everybody kept it clean out there. So it's just warm, so it's going to be hard on equipment, but it's not a long race, so everybody should be fine.
Another tough day for another Brazilian. Sorry.
Thank you.
Brian Herta still explaining to Derek Walker what he thought may have happened to the car, and a pretty good run going to that point. 58 laps are now complete, 108 the scheduled distance, and Alex Tagliani, the rookie, is still looking good at the front. Welcome back to Rio. We are still under a yellow flag condition. They do have Brian Herta's car off the course, but they also wanted to take a good look at it and make sure the course was ready to go racing. So now it seems that as we're getting ready to go back to green with the pit stops, we had 12 cars in the pits, Parker, that we now have the split strategy at play again.
Well, and the strategy is determined the last 2 races. The guys who pitted on lap 35 to 37 that stayed out, they'll have to come in between 72 and 74. They'll be good to the end of the race. The guys that just came in, they'll be back in between lap 92 and 94. So this is going to make for some very interesting strategies as we come back to green.
They begin to pick the pace up, anticipating a green flag with Alex Tagliani bringing the field down.
See, Garcia gets loose there. He just got completely out of it.
And because of that, they're going to wave it off again, even though the pace car was on the pit road. Paul Tracy, Jan Beekes, has dropped down to 9th place.
Yes, he was one of those who did pit, and Parker had said earlier that this is one of the fastest pit crews in the business. Well, in this particular case, they decided to make a change on the rear wicker, which is effectively a bit of a spoiler that sticks up at the back of the rear wing. Remember earlier in the race, we told you he had too much downforce. They decided to take the time during the pit stop to lower that 1 notch and then also take out some front wing. So took a little extra time, lost a few spots on the racetrack, but now have the downforce that Paul Tracy wants.
And if you look carefully just ahead of the front wheels, there's a huge variation between the Renards as far as we call them flugels. They're the little ski jump ramps in front of the rear tires. The ones that are double element, those are the ones that are from the road course. The Players car has them. They're running quite fast with Ford power down the straightaway. So does Team Green. It's providing too much downforce. The other Renards are running a special kit that was built just for here and will also probably be used at Elkhart Lake. Less drag, less downforce, faster down the straightaways.
As we're ready to go back to green, hopefully again, we've had 2 cautions, a total of 12 laps. They'll start the 61st lap as the green comes out for Alex Tagliani. Michael Andretti is the 2nd place car. Mimo Gidley is 3rd. Luis Garcia Jr. there in the line is not part of the battle. And again, with those stops and now the split strategy, Blundell sits in 4th. Fernandez is 5th. And Kenny Brack is back there in 6th place. Everybody has to handle up. Luis Garcia Jr., they do it. Kenny Brack is the next one to do so, with Jimmy Vasser following just behind Brack.
Brack pulls out of the draft, decides he doesn't have quite enough to get by. Tucks back in, then pops back out again going into the first corner.
Max Pappas comes up alongside of Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan has been engineered by Mo Nunn all weekend. His normal engineer, not here. They've been struggling trying to get the most straight line speed out of the Mercedes power plant. The Ford's very, very strong down the straightaways.
Well, Breck got around Garcia, but now Vasser has to deal with him. He looked out. Now he's going to look to the inside.
And you can see he had just a lot more exit speed coming off the first corner there. Oh!
Whoa, what was that? This guy, no,
it's Max Pappas.
Suddenly, look at the left rear.
Oh, Max.
Max Pappas.
Hey, be cool.
Looks like he just had a puncture. This track is only run on once a year. The organizers spent several weeks cleaning it, and we saw lots and lots of punctures during practice, a lot of cut tires. Good job by Max Pappas handling that car, coming off the last corner, getting it down to the pits and stopped on the marks. It's hard when you're only stopping on two cut tires there on the diagonal.
Vasser around Garcia Jr.
Saw Cristiano D'Amata pop out behind Roberto Moreno.
Tagliani has managed to pull out 2.1 seconds. There he is, the interval back to Michael Andretti in 2nd place.
Well, it's not a cut tire, it's a Paul Tracy modification to the back of Pappas' car. He leaned on Max's left rear. Good driving by Max here, just take it straight down to the pit lane and watch Dario down the inside. This is where it got close.
Pappas comes back out after getting that left rear replaced and comes back into the fight. Though it's cost him, he's in 16th now. And just went a lap down to the leader.
Here we'll see it again. Max a little high on the outside. Paul carrying a lot of speed. He's got Cristiano D'Amata right behind him. And he just boots Max coming through the last corner.
Jan Beekes?
Check with Team Cool Green and asked, was Paul Tracy's car damaged in that? They said they do not believe so. The lap times are about the same that they've been.
What a ride for Franchitti, too, and he was almost on the grass trying to avoid that one.
Well, everybody went high. Dario decided to go low. I bet Max didn't even know he was there.
Takuya Kurosawa comes into the pits. Remember his great run at Long Beach?
Tremendous drive. Leading the field, fighting very, very hard, is under battle, under competition. Great, great race for this young man from Japan.
Yeah, he didn't just give those positions up when they came up to pass him. He fought with everybody in the field.
And significantly, he's the first Japanese driver in kart history to lead a kart event.
Onboard Blundell, currently fourth. Tagliani crosses the line, then Michael, then Gidley. Pappas with Blundell working on him. But remember, Pappas is a lap down. Kenny Brack is up now, working on the back of Adrian Fernandez.
When I went in to see Mauricio and Blundell yesterday, you could tell what competitors these guys are. It looked like someone had shot their dogs. If these guys aren't at the front, if they aren't leading races, they are the most unhappy, depressed people you can imagine. And all they want to do is fight and work with their engineers, do whatever's necessary to get back to the front.
Adrian Fernandez and Kenny Brack. This is the battle on the field now. It's a fight for fifth.
In that fight, we've got Pappas in between. Blundell's in fourth, Fernandez in fifth, Brack in sixth. Max having gone a lap down because of that contact with Tracy. Mark using the Ford to his advantage, getting a toe down the straightaways.
And Brack looks like just keeping the wings out into clean air whenever he can. Both the wings and, I assume, the radiators, giving the hot temperatures here today and the high humidity.
As you said, the lead car in this group, Max, isn't having much of a problem with temperature, but as you get 2, 3 cars back, that air is superheated.
Tony Kanaan.
Creates a lot of problems for the brakes, for the engine, for the transmission.
Kanaan is on his way into the pits, as you saw. Now he's made his stop at the pits. His engine chugging because he's using again that button that was almost costly for Tagliani.
Paul, we think it's a first gear problem, and they have lost first gear.
So another one of the Brazilians having trouble in front of their hometown crowd.
And Paul, I would expect that we're going to start seeing them lay out for the next round of pit stops for the guys that are on the original schedule to make this a 2-stop race.
Well, you expected them somewhere between 72 and 74. There's Tony Kanaan as they look over the back end of his car. Obviously a serious problem there. Second place, Michael Andretti. Here comes third place, Memo Gidley.
I've been keeping my eye on Jimmy Vasser's crew. They've got the tires up on the wall. The guys are getting ready to set out here.
Well, as predicted, Blundell peels off for the pits. It looked like both Fernandez and Brack were going to go with him, but then they stayed out. Well, they almost touched tires there. And Brack finally gets Fernandez.
Man, he went in there deep. Adrian breaks deep, but Kenny went in way deep and got this thing slowed down and managed to get it through the corner.
So they used this car, Mark Blundell, as a pivot. Worked off of him coming off of 4 as Blundell headed for the pits. And Brack finally got the pass done. On board Jimmy Vasser, he is 6th. We're going to look back at Brack and Fernandez. Vasser was wisely getting way over to the side of the racetrack.
2 Renard Ford-powered cars having a drag race down to the first corner.
Pretty intimidating pass. Just come up right alongside and say, I'm here, now do something about it. I've got the inside.
And the thing that I'm noticing once again, Paul, with 72 laps complete, is that we're seeing a distinct lack of marbles off the racing line. In the past, at this stage of the race, it would have been very difficult for drivers to do what Kenny just did without getting into the marbles and really taking a big risk. But the track looks very, very clean, allowing these attempts that we're seeing down in the first and last corner. Firestone once again coming with a great tire, improving the racing for everyone involved.
Jimmy Vasser, he sits in 6th. Then a bit of a spacing back to Paul Tracy in 7th and Cristiano D'Amata in 8th. Anticipating a stop by Michael Andretti, theoretically in a lap or two.
Well, they're right within the window. Now, remember the last time, Jimmy Vasser was the last guy in. He came in on lap 37, and he might be trying to extend this just as long as he can. He'll probably be the last of the guys of this first strategy to come in. I'll keep an eye on his crew here, but it's got to be within the next few laps.
Gil DeFerrin's in front of a major pack here. Moreno continues his battle with Michel Jourdain Jr. They've been at it all of this race.
Michel driving a superb race up to 11th place now.
Leader of the race, Tagliani, due on the pit road now. The team's looking for him.
Remember to look for your water bottle, okay? Might want to flip that visor. Nice and easy in the pit. Clear in. I want you to keep it off. Come on in. Come on in.
Gary?
Nice and easy on the brake.
Alex
Okay,
Timmerman's on the radio with the rookie Tagliani.
This is going to be a full fuel, okay? Full fuel just like last time. I'm going to see a lot of RPM on the exit. A lot of RPM on the exit.
We hear the RPMs come up. Boy, is he on the throttle, holding him, still holding, waiting for the fueling. Now he goes.
Watch your feet on the exit.
16.7 seconds for the stop. Alex Tagliani takes him out of the lead of the race. Great coaching.
Now, the thing that I'm thinking about here, Paul, is he's really got to stretch the fuel to get it to the end. The guys that come into the next few laps will be able to run more power, and the guys that are off strategy, the guys that come in between, I've calculated between lap 92, 93, 94, fuel won't be an issue. They'll be short filling. It'll be on their crews to get those tires changed as quickly as possible, but they'll be able to run full power all the way to the checkered flag. This will make for a very interesting strategy to the end if we have no more yellows.
Alex Tagliani has now picked up that single point for leading the most laps in the race. He, of course, also got a point for taking the pole position. But now, with Tagliani's stop, Michael Andretti takes over the lead. Tagliani drops back to 13th place, but here comes Michael in. Mimo Gidley, who was in 2nd place, comes in behind him.
And for Michael Andretti, Paul, he has not been happy with his car all weekend, but obviously he's happy with it now. I just spoke with his engineer, Pete Gibbons. They said they're going to make no changes on this stop. Ahead of him, Mimo Gidley's making his stop at the same time. Same deal. They're going to wait for all the fuel. Oh, no! Oh, no! Another crewman hit. He's getting up on his own power, but Michael Andretti, now unfortunately, guys, the kart rule is if you hit a crew member, you will be disqualified. I think this is the end of Michael's day. Thankfully, it's not the end of his crewman's day.
Well, Jan, when you can, update us on that. Let us know who it is and how he is. He looks all right. Kenny Breck assumes the lead of the race. Fernandez comes up into 2nd. Vasser is 3rd. That brings Tracy up to 4th.
Remember, we opened the show talking about could Toyota win its first series race? Could a rookie get a breakthrough victory here? Kenny Breck, Alex Tagliani, couldn't they do it? And also Lola. But now, Michael Andretti, Lola's best hope, has hit a crewman on the way out. You can see the wave from the right front tire man there.
Not that much different in many ways than Ty Mansell Milwaukee a year ago. Fortunately, though, didn't go completely under the left rear. Just got clipped by the left rear. We'll wait for the official word on that. Kart safety is there. Kenny Breck still the leader now. Fernandez 2nd, Vasser 3rd. We'll go down pit side once again.
And with Tony Kanaan, Paul, gearbox problems. Was this anything that gave you any kind of a warning? Nothing you can do, Tony?
Well, Gary, I was trying to engage 3rd gear for a long time, and actually it was graining. The gearbox was graining every single lap. I was trying to use 4th, but you know, I think I couldn't save it. So we lost 3rd gear, then we lost 4th gear, and we had to stop. Without 3rd and 4th gear, it's really tough.
Prior to that problem, how good was your race car today?
Well, the car was reasonable. I think we had a little problem at the and the straight lines. I think I had a bit too much downforce, so I couldn't go very quick down the straightaways.
but the car was reasonable, was consistent. I think I had a car to finish the top 10. Unfortunately, it's points that you give away, so it's tough.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gil de Ferran climbs from the car. Another one of the Brazilians becomes a spectator here at their most important day.
Very disappointing. When we had dinner with him the other night, Paul, I asked him, what do you have to do to win Long Beach? And he said, you know, I don't know, but he said he's never worked for anyone as enthusiastic as Roger Penske, and to him this is a dream come true. Just today, a bit of a downer, but they'll be back.
Michael Andretti in and out for a stop-and-go penalty. Jan, what's the story?
Well, the story is right now that CART has just given him a stop-and-go penalty. And I'll tell you what, if they don't disqualify him, they're going to have a bunch of teams here that are going to really be upset at CART, because there's no question that the vent man, Todd Tice, who is receiving some attention right now from the safety crew, he was clearly run over. He is injured. And the chief mechanics were told, if you injure a crewman in any way, you will be disqualified from the event. So far, they haven't taken that call. Some other crews are going to be very upset.
The penalty thus far for this incident is a stop-and-go penalty. That's the call of CART officials. Kirk Russell, the chief steward. By the way, speaking of the chief steward, this is the first race in the entire history of CART that Wally Dallenbach has not been at the racetrack. In fact, his safety team put some signs on their vehicles to say, hi, Wally, hoping that he's having a good time sitting at home watching on television. But maybe it's driving him crazy. Another beautiful venue here in Rio. Nothing has changed since we left you. Breck is the leader. Adrian Fernandez is second, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy, Cristiano D'Amato, Roberto Moreno, and in seventh, Michel Jourdain Jr. given that car for the Bentonhausen team. Just a marvelous ride. Jan?
Yes, the situation for Michael Andretti and his penalties. I spoke with the pit steward from CART, Dennis Swan, and he said that similar to a penalty you would have in football, there's different levels of enforcement. Like a face mask, it could be 5 or it could be 15 yards. If they feel it was a 15-yard penalty, effectively they would disqualify someone. In Dennis Swan's judgment, he felt that it was a 5-yard penalty, effectively a stop-and-go for Michael Andretti.
So that puts a period on the Michael Andretti situation. He stopped again. Looked like they had some damage to the left rear of the car, just ahead of the left rear wheel. They're reporting too, and the reason we're watching Max Pappas is here, that he has been displaying some vapor or smoke at the back of the car. But remember that Pappas fell well behind the race and is now running 13th a lap behind the leader. The leader is Breck. Breck, who has spent the last several years in the Indy Racing League driving nothing but ovals, including his win last year at the Indianapolis 500. A rookie to this series, but is certainly giving Bobby Rahal and David Letterman's car a great ride here today. The game will play out here, though, in about 3 laps, when the second set of pit stops, or the final set of pit stops, for the group that staggered off will head into the pits.
And then we'll know what the real story is, headed down to lap 108 in the checkered flag.
Christian Fittipaldi. He remains in 8th position. Dario Franchitti's been right behind him. Gary Gerald.
We're just updating the situation on Adrian Fernandez. For the last several laps, they've been very concerned about a strange sound that they're hearing from the car. But Adrian has been assured that telemetry and everything indicates full power, full operation. So they don't know where that sound is coming from. It may be exhaust or header related somehow, but they think that they are going to have to bring him in with probably 10 laps to go in the competition. It looks like now it may be 12 laps to go. Lap 96, Fernandez will have to make a final stop.
We talked about the great ride that Michel Jourdain Jr. had given his car. Now, as you saw, his speed has let him down. And there is some fluid on the track in that point. The question now will be, with 91 laps complete, will they go yellow? And if they do, what advantage that will serve? They do have a pace car sitting at pit exit. They bring the yellow flag out. So here the game plays very hard. Pappas comes in. Remember, he's a lap behind. Not their problem there.
And he's got a terminal problem. You heard Ray Hall tell him to shut it off.
Yeah, don't get out yet.
Well, on the other hand, don't get out yet, so we're going to look it over. But the yellow comes out to the leader, Kenny Breck. So the pits will close for the first lap until the pace car is able to gather up the remainder of the field. But we're under caution again here at Rio. Back at Rio, still under the full course caution. Don't forget, in 2 weeks, we will have coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series, this time at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan, and the coverage will come on ABC Sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. So as the pace car tries to collect up the field so that they can open the pits, they should be able to open the pits next time round. And this is going to make for a very interesting end of the race.
The guys who came in between laps 72 and 75, this yellow will allow them to get between 7, 8, 9 miles per gallon. It'll hopefully take the fuel problem out of their strategy to get to the checkered flag. The guys that are coming in now, some are going to take tires, some aren't. They're going to do a splash and go, but be assured it's going to be a Saturday night special sprint car race all the way to the checkered flag. What's going to be interesting, though, is this race is always like Cleveland. In the closing laps, all kinds of things usually go wrong or happen. So we'll see how that plays out. But right now, Kenny Breck's leading it. Fernandez, Vasser, Tracy, they're all coming in. Their crews are ready for their drivers.
Kenny Breck comes into the pits. Kenny Breck is the first to head down into the pits. Jan Vikas.
Yes, and ahead of him, we will have Adrian Fernandez. We'll also have Paul Tracy making stops. The key is how fast can you do it and who will take tires. Most of the teams have the tires laid out. I thought so. Paul Tracy was faking them out. They did not change tires. Gary.
No tire changes for either of the Patrick cars. Fernandez a splash. He's going to be side by side with Vasser. Going to be very close on the exit. And I think that Fernandez got around him.
Fernandez did get Vasser, and then Paul Tracy came out.
We had Tracy, Franchitti, D'Amata, 3 abreast coming down the pit lane. Tracy got in front. D'Amata held off Franchitti. Vasser's crew, same thing, no tires.
You saw that Kenny Breck got stuck well back there. You look back around the corner for Kenny Breck, but a bit of a surprise that Breck decided to make a stop at that point. Apparently they decided, let's go ahead under the caution, make the stop, not try to stretch anything. We'll be back. Welcome back to Rio. We anticipate a green flag as we look at the summary of the race with 7 late changes among 6 different drivers. 3 caution periods will be coming out of the 3rd caution of the day here very shortly. A long list of drivers out of the race, including, according to the crowd, way too many Brazilians. Alex Tagliani picks up the lead of the race with the final round of stops in what should now be a sprint from the 95th. Actually, they'll start it on the 96th lap to the 108th lap. Tagliani leads Fernandez, Vasser, Tracy, D'Amata, and Franchitti. Those are the top 6. Kenny Breck, you saw him come into the pits. He came out of the pits in 9th, Jan Vikas.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had quick work with the pit crew, but Kenny stalled it on the way out. And obviously, the final pit stop of the race, when everyone's putting in their best performance, if you stall it, you're going to drop way back.
Paul Tracy, when he came into the pits, this was his stop, Parker.
Well, we've talked about how good their crew is. Talking to Tony Cotman, watch the fueler. Right there, Jeff Simon. They say they make him do this 30 times a day before he can go home at the shop. The whole idea is to get the fuel probe in before the car stops. If he can do that, he gets a bonus of an undisclosed amount. And unfortunately, he didn't get it done quite that time.
Of course, that plug was for fuel only. And so Tagliani, the rookie, is he possibly looking at his first victory? We'll find out when we come back. Welcome back to Rio. The crowd anticipating the green flag, as are we. 97 laps are into the record book. 108 the scheduled distance. It's going to be a sprint to the finish. Everybody is good on fuel. You look at the attrition rate in the races this year. Homestead 9, Long Beach 13, 11 here today. Alex Tagliani, the rookie, as you mentioned at starting, could this be his day?
Well, he's shown just tremendous speed. He hasn't put a wheel wrong all day. He hasn't repeated any of the rookie mistakes that we saw at Homestead. Very, very talented young man. this truly could be his day. The Ford power plant very strong here at Rio, very, very fast down the straightaways.
You also mentioned the possibility of Kenny Breck being at the front of the field. He could have been had he not stalled the car on the way out of the pits on that last lap. On the last lap pit stops under the caution. Tagliani, Fernandez, Vasser, 1, 2, and 3. They head for turn 4.
Saw the cat and mouse game there between Tagliani and Fernandez. Vasser staying a little farther back. Tag got a great jump on Adrian. And look at Vasser now on the outside of Fernandez.
Vasser comes up to do battle with Adrian Fernandez. Just behind Paul Tracy and Amata battle. But Fernandez is able to hold the charging Vasser off. Tracy drops into 4th. Now we're to the backside of this 1.8-mile D-shaped oval.
And they take this strange line under the bridge in the middle of the track because the track is very bumpy on the traditional or outside line. Look at Fernandez protect the inside line. Jimmy should have a better exit coming off the corner.
Fernandez snaps down through the gears, holds off Jimmy Vasser. Tracy behind Jimmy, D'Amata, and then Christian Fittipaldi. Franchitti there too.
It's hard to see what happened, but somebody kept their foot in it, trying to bring the car back around and just set up this huge smoke screen. Remember I said, just like Cleveland in the closing laps of Rio, something always happens. And it looks like it's done it again here.
99 laps complete. 4 cars stopped on the course.
Kenny Breck looks to be one of them.
Franchitti looks to be one. Tagliani may be that other car on the far side.
No, that's
everybody asking to get going, looking for damage. And look at the skid marks. You talked about the smoke that was put up from the tires. Look at the disappointment over in the players' Forsyth pits. So as they were on the first lap back from green, something happened up there at the front.
What's become we'll see if we can see it now in the replay.
It was Tagliani.
Tagliani way up high. Just keeps his foot in it. Everybody else at the front had a clear view to the outside, but look at the parts starting to come off the car. Obviously, there's been contact there. Here's Franchitti down the inside. Tagliani at the bottom of your screen, turning in for turn 4. Misses the apex by a little bit, gets up in the gray. Fernandez through. Vasser going, oh, baby. Goes high. Oh, Tracy goes high. D'Amata goes high. And this is where, look at Franchitti. Spins it back to the inside. Tagliani just keeps his foot in it.
Here's Jimmy's view. Watch this.
I'm going inside. I'm going inside. I'm going outside.
Boy, he had no idea whatsoever.
Woo!
He just took a side and hoped. Gary Gerald.
The radio conversation, we are told, Paul, between Neil Mickelwright, who was spotting on a tower in the center of the infield. Tagliani came on and said he was all right, said it is a nightmare. Mickelwright very calmly said those things happen. The intensity of this young man up from the Atlantic ranks. Some of the crew had told us he is so emotional, they're concerned that it could be to his detriment as he tries to grow in open wheel racing. You can't help but wonder if inside 10 laps to go, that may have happened here.
Mickelwright yesterday was talking about the tremendous pressure that Tagliani felt that he was under, scoring his pole. Imagine how that pressure multiplied with the run in the lead today and then this.
And traditionally, the drivers of the past, Paul, once they got high and started to have the car come around, would have gotten into the brakes. That would have taken them to the outside wall. Now what's happening, the younger drivers have all decided if you stand on the throttle, it rotates the car back to the inside. But there is that additional problem with the smoke screen it puts up for the cars behind you.
You also saw Tracy clip Tagliani as he came through. There was certainly damage to Tagliani. The question is whether or not there's any problem there for Tracy. Fernandez will be the leader when we're ready to go green. We'll be back. Richmond International Speedway has hosted NASCAR racing since 1953. Next Friday at 7:30, 4:30 Pacific, they will host the NASCAR Busch Series Hardee's 250. Make sure you tune in for more. Log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Pace car brings him down the front stretch one more time. We look back to Mark Blundell's view of the Tagliani spin.
Quick, where do you go? Find a gear and get through it and go.
Like that Southern California fog on the 405.
Watch Alex, he just gets in a little high, misses the apex, gets up in the gray. Back end starts to get away from him. Here he stands on the throttle to keep the car spinning towards the inside, keep it from continuing out towards the outside wall. And he just stands on the throttle and smokes the tires.
Now you saw Tracy go through there. That's Franchitti spinning off to the left. You saw Tracy go through there, and it looked like he may have clipped Tagliani. Jan Vikas, can you update us?
Well, I think that he did clip Tagliani, but I think that the debris that we saw, at least for Paul Tracy, thankfully was from Tagliani's car. Checking with the crew, they saw the contact. They have spoken with Paul on the radio. They have observed the front wings, looked carefully. They think they're okay.
And Paul, I can see there, we had a pretty good view of it right here. You can see that ski jump ramp on the left front wing end plate is damaged. It has fallen down. It's broken off just the tip of the end plate there. His car does have a problem. Now, Cristiano D'Amata, anyone following Paul Tracy, Christian Fittipaldi, Roberto Moreno, all they have to know is that the car in front of them is damaged, and it just has them see red, because if you know your opponent's injured, it just makes you that much more hungry to get around him. Now, how big of an effect will that play? It's going to cause the car to understeer more. That means Paul won't be able to carry as much speed into or off of the corner. They're going to have to lay back, get their passes time right, to try to carry more entry speed into and through the corner to get Paul going down the straightaway.
Now, I assume that Paul Tracy would be notified of that on the radio, because he sure can't see it.
There's no way he can see that. It's sitting down in front of the tire. The car will probably feels fine, but as soon as he goes down into the first corner after the green flag and turns in, he's going to know that he doesn't have the grip at the front of the car that he needs.
Well, depending on the outcome of this race, it looks like it's going to be about a 3-lap sprint to the finish. The story is going to be one of Patrick Racing right now, who came to this track with not much success whatsoever in the first day of practice. They struggled hard overnight. In fact, Roberto Moreno was laughing about how poorly he was doing, and Adrian Fernandez was just frustrated. In the Fernandez pits now, they realize they have a car in the lead. They know that they have a guy fully capable of winning, and they know that they've played that fuel strategy once again that has worked for him in the past.
When I talked to Ed Nethman the other day, the team manager for Pat Patrick, I said, please tell me that you spent all day today running full tanks and going for a race setup. And he said, no, we've been trying to go as quickly as we can. Adrian started down in 16th, but once again, that hasn't deterred Paul Tracy the last couple races from winning or ending up on the podium. And so far, Pat Patrick, Ed Nethman, and the guys there at Pat Patrick have played this absolutely perfectly.
Green.
Adrian Fernandez takes the lead, takes the green flag. Vasser sits right behind.
Turn 4, Adrian, spin in turn 4.
That may work totally to Adrian's advantage.
Looks like that's Memo. Oh, it's Alex Tagliani
back out.
Back out and back around, unfortunately. He enters turn 4. This time he's down on the line. The back end comes around. He stands on the tires. You got to remember, he probably put 100 miles on those tires, at least a couple of pit stops. The last time he smoked it coming out of 4, so he got turned in there, and it just rotated around.
Once again, it was Franchitti right there behind him. He said, I've seen this before. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Deja vu all over again.
I wish we hadn't gone there. So Fernandez leads the field around. Caution once again, 106 laps complete. Welcome back to Rio, where they have just shown the white and yellow flag to Adrian Fernandez, assuming that he can make it around behind the pace car, and there's no reason not to assume that. He will have run from 16th to 1st and taken the victory here. And when you consider the season, that means that the average winning starting position in kart this year is 15th. Adrian Fernandez slowly will go to the checkered flag, followed by Jimmy Vasser and Paul Tracy, both of whom, as they came across for the white flag, pulled alongside. And they had a row of 3 coming under the flag.
They're booing loud up there. They're making a lot of loud boos.
Adrian Fernandez from Mexico City is going to take the checkered flag. Amazing. What an amazing weekend. Sixth win for Adrian Fernandez. The boos were for Alex Tagliani. The crowd wanted a better finish than this. Gary, Gerald?
Pat Patrick has been in this position so many times in his career, but Pat, I want to know, when this race started today, with Adrian starting 16th, how realistic did you think your chances were of getting to victory lane?
0. Really? I thought we might get the podium, but certainly not victory lane.
This team, John Ward with the setup, Bob Sproul and all these guys, the pit strategy was the game plan to get out of cycle early and try to get track position?
Yes, we did. We decided to do that early, and we had to. We're so far back.
Well, it worked out beautifully, and there's a big celebration down there waiting for you.
Yeah, on a Viva Mexico, because the guys here don't seem to like that.
Some of the fans were not happy because they didn't end this one under green.
So Adrian Fernandez ahead of Jimmy Vasser. There's Ward, who's been on the horn to Adrian Fernandez throughout the entire race. We'll be back with more from Rio. And Adrian Fernandez led for only 10 laps. There were 5 cautions over 27 laps in this race. Fernandez, Vasser, and Tracy all make it to the podium. Go to Gary.
And Adrian Fernandez takes a misstep as he tries to get on the podium, and he's lucky he didn't break a leg. He just slipped getting up onto the second rung of the podium, and now we'll bring him, well, we'll get up here and we'll be able to talk from the top with him. Adrian, tell us about this day, because Pat Patrick, we just asked him, and he said, did you think that you had a chance to win from 16th? And he said, no way. What did you think?
Well, I tell you, we had such a rough weekend, and nothing was working this time, but thanks God we got a good car. John Ward gave me fantastic car for the race, and we just were patient. At the start of the race, you know, I thought you have to stay behind the, you know, the car in front of you, so you didn't pass. So that's why I slowed down, so I didn't pass them, and I really lost a lot of positions. So I just tried to focus, and I tell you, I'm so happy. You know, the last 2 races we were strong. We couldn't finish, but this is the best reward we can ever receive, so thank you, Pat.
This team has not made a pit stop this year because of the earlier mechanical problems. Today they had to make 3. It couldn't have been any better for you, could it?
I tell you, I have to thank 4. They rebound very strongly, and they felt bad for what happened, but you know, they gave me a great engine this time, and also Firestone. I tell you, I don't know how many laps I did on those tires, maybe 80, 90. I mean, they're great tires, so thank you guys. Thank you Tecate, Quaker State, Telmex, everybody. Thank you, Mexico.
Now, how about the problem down there when Tagliani spun on the restart and there's this huge cloud of smoke? Was that a problem for you at all?
I tell you, it was a problem because we had to go around the group, and it was a lot of little sand, you know, that like a beach sand. And it was very hard to keep the car on the track after that, just to clean your tires. So I almost lost it in one restart, and I knew it was going to be a problem. So I was very careful with the throttle, and thanks God I managed to stay there. And Jimmy Vasser gave me a big run at the end. I managed to stay inside, but I tell you, it feels great.
Career win number 6. Congratulations, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go to Jan.
Jimmy Vasser getting the congratulations from Paul Tracy. Jimmy, a great run for you, the best finish ever for Toyota. Did you hope that thing was going to end under green?
I thought it would be better if I have a chance for the win for sure, but you know, I was struggling to get around him all day when he got in front of us there in that second to last pit stop. So I was kind of running behind people all day long, running behind Paul and then Adrian. I had a faster car, but I could never get out in the clear. Like Kenny Brack was doing a good job of getting out and then running away. But you know, I'm happy for the target team in Toyota. You know, if we keep putting ourselves in this position, running top 5s, you know, the ball's going to bounce our way, and we'll get our wins.
With P2 here, the next stop is Japan. How important to get a win for Toyota in their home country?
How important do you think it'll be? I mean, that would be huge. We're pushing really hard for that. They're working hard. You know, I think we run good there in the past. I think we'll be strong there as well.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Jimmy Vasser finishes in 2nd place, and now the presentation of the trophy for the Kart Rio 200 to Adrian Fernandez. And Paul Tracy continues his hold on the points by 6 over Jimmy Vasser, and Roberto Moreno moves into 3rd place. We'll be back with more from Rio right after this. coverage of the CART Rio 200 has been brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, official beer of CART. Hey, race fans, this Bud's for you. And by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Well, the ceremonies are continuing as they celebrate the victory of Adrian Fernandez here, followed by Jimmy Vasser. We'll show you the entire unofficial order of finish with a goodly number of cars falling out of this race early on, and Oriol Servia managing to do it right at the start of the race. Paul Tracy gets a podium finish. Third place. He didn't have to fight with the damaged left front wing. Jan Beekes?
Yeah, and I wonder if that was a good thing. Paul, you know that you had some contact. We were talking about it when you came through the smoke of Tagliani. With that damaged front wing, was it good or bad we didn't go green?
Well, the wing was broken, cracked. It was still in place, but you know, I'd rather be lucky than good. You know, I just closed my eyes and followed the target sign through there, and you know, a cool green car came through. I felt a big thump, and I was like, ah, shit, I thought we broke the wing or peeled it off, and it looked, it was there. You know, so I don't know if we could have challenged at the end. I was going to try, but you know, it was a great finish for Team Cool Green.
When things start coming together, this is the third time you've been on the podium. Are you starting to think championship, momentum, the way you've started the season?
Well, we're thinking championship. I mean, Jimmy's in there. He's going to be tough. He's always consistent. So, you know, you got to be consistent. You got to get good finishes, and that's what we're going to try to do every week.
Now, some of the things you found in Long Beach, you told me changing your front wing setup a little bit and so on, and bringing that to Rio kind of got you revitalized. You started third instead of 17th. How about some of the next tracks we're going to? Do you feel you'll be solid there?
Well, I hope so. I mean, Motegi's going to be a, you know, big horsepower track. We don't know what it's going to be like with these wings. You know, I think we need to improve a little bit there. But overall, I'm happy with the Honda. I mean, we've got great fuel mileage and great consistency. I think over the course of the year, I think it's a better package. But, you know, we're going to Motegi. I run good there. Back to Nazareth, Milwaukee. These are tracks I'm pretty strong at, so hopefully we can get some luck going. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
Well, Parker, we're going to take a look at the end of Tagliani's lead from Jimmy Vasser's view one more time. What a terrible way to end the day. And so Jimmy Vasser drives through the smoke. Tagliani's lead and potential win is over. Gary Gerald.
Tag, how devastating is this to accept early in a rookie career?
It's very hard. I feel very, very bad for all my guys. And for everybody on the track that, you know, the race ended up on yellow, so that's pretty bad. And, you know, it was such a great weekend. We had a perfect car, and we had a very good weekend. The car was running strong until the last set of tires, and it seems that we lost a weight on the front wheel, and the car was jumping all over the place. Very hard to keep on the track, and on my last set, I was very, very slow, and on the restart, I pushed a little bit too hard to stay up front of all those guys, and I lost it. And
when you lost it, was there ever any doubt about getting out of the throttle, or were you thinking somehow I'm going to save this thing with that big spin?
What happened is I ran into the marbles, and the car was going pretty high, and I tried to keep it down, and I tried to bring the car back and do a spin, and I didn't make it. So, you know, it's a pretty big mistake. I'm very, very sad in my heart for all those guys, the guys at the shop, everybody on the Players Foresight team. You know, we were this close from a win, even closer than Homestead. So, I mean, it's very bad, and hopefully, you know, the season is long, and we'll try to win another one.
I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Alex Tagliani will remember this day perhaps even more than his first victory.
And Paul, it's better to lead and lose than to have never led at all. It'll be disappointing, but he'll be back stronger than ever.
An interesting turn of an old phrase. Don't forget, Classic NASCAR, the Goodies 500 on Saturday, 4 o'clock, 1 o'clock Pacific. Rusty Wallace wins his very first of 4 consecutive Goodie 500 races. Welcome back to Rio. The race is run. Adrian Fernandez has taken the victory here, followed by Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy, and Cristiano D'Amata. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Cristiano was one of those that almost got caught up when Tagliani spun. How hard was it to see and to avoid contact with other cars?
It's impossible to see, because when he started spinning, he went on the throttle, made this big cloud of smoke, so I just had to choose which side I was going to go, but I would just count on luck. I saw he spinning to the inside, I went to the outside.
He chose the right line. He's got a career equaling best performance.
Cristiano D'Amata, 4th place, followed by Fittipaldi and Roberto Moreno, another Brazilian, scoring up in the top 10. In 2 weeks, we'll be in Japan, the Twin Ring Motegi. The run there, a very hard horsepower race. The coverage will come on ABC Sports. Everything you talked about at the start really came true.
It almost came true. Toyota almost got its first win. Lola almost got its first win back in the series. And the rookies, oh, they came so agonizingly close. They'll have to wait 2 weeks for Motegi.
Congratulations to Adrian Fernandez and Patrick Racing for their victory here in Rio. Coming up next, the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network. Go.